Remember Game Boy? Pokémon was the first game on there, launched 20 years ago today. It's still going strong. Kicking off their IndieGoGo campaign today are Japanese animators Game Freak, who want to bring an animated series back on the popular game franchise Pokémon. Satoshi Tajiri, developer, Game Freak, game designer Pokémon, and game producer Inafune's racing project. The original creator of Pokémon is Satoshi Tajiri, who created the developer Game Freak. How the Pokémon card game helped drive the success of the Pokémon video games. We'll give away the story's twist, so you'll have to watch the video. The beginning. Satoshi Tajiri was born in a suburb of Tokyo called Machida. His father sold Nissans, and his mother took care of him at home. As a child, he loved to play outside and was especially interested in bugs. He loved to hunt for insects in ponds, fields, and forests. He was always looking for new bugs and finding new ways to catch beetles. People called him Dr. Bug because he was interested in collecting and studying insects. In the late 1970s, apartment buildings and shopping centers were built on the fields and ponds that Tajiri had loved as a child. At this time, Tajiri's love for bugs moved on to video games and arcades. The history of Pocket Monsters. Video game creator and Game Freak magazine co-founder Tajiri imagined two players battling insects via a Game Boy link cable in the early 1990s. As a child, Tajiri liked collecting bugs, a shared hobby in Japan. You may already know that Pokémon is a combination of the words Pocket Monsters. Capsule Monsters was the original name, but it had to be changed because of a trademark problem. This is why Nintendo turned down Tajiri's first idea. After the name was changed to Pocket Monsters, Shigeru Miyamoto returned the idea to Nintendo. Miyamoto is the intelligent person who made Super Mario and Zelda. With his help, Nintendo approved Tajiri's idea, even though they didn't fully understand it, and then gave funding for the project. Ken Sugimori joined the Game Freak team in 1981 as an illustrator after reading a magazine about Pokémon. All 151 original Pokémon were created by Sugimori, Atsuko Nishida, Motofumi Fujiwara, and Shigeki Morimoto. Atsuko Nishida was the first person to make Pikachu. She had to design 24 Pokémon in Generation 1, including Bulbasaur, Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard. Motofumi Fujiwara started working at Game Freak in 1992. He is familiar with the creator of the first Eevee. Satoshi Tajiri wanted a Pokémon that could change into different forms, so Fujiwara tried to make a blank slate Pokémon. Fujiwara was the one who first thought of Jolteon and Flareon's evolutions, while Atsuko Nishida came up with Vaporeon. All of this happened before the Eevee example. Shigeki Morimoto was best known for making the Pokémon video game battle system and designing the character Mew. Other designs by Morimoto include Diglett, Meowth, Mankey, Tauros, and Dragonite. Morimoto is the game director for Pokémon Emerald, Pokémon Heart Gold, and Pokémon Soul Silver, even though he is in charge of changing the battle system for each game. First video games. Red and Green were made up for the first time in 1991. Over the next 5 years, Game Freak was almost bankrupt and could barely pay its workers. 5 people quit because there wasn't enough money. During hard times, Satoshi Tajiri worked without pay and got help from his father. Creatures Inc. stepped in when the developers ran out of money to finish the games. In exchange for 33% of the Pokémon franchise rights, they gave the developers the money they needed to finish the games. On February 27, 1996, Pokémon Red and Pokémon Green for the Nintendo Game Boy came out in Japan. The first games weren't a huge hit right away, but when Koro magazine ran a contest to give Mew to 20 winners, over 78,000 people signed up, and demand for the games went through the roof. On October 15, 1996, Pokémon Blue was released in Japan. The graphics and music in the game were improved. There were 10.23 million copies sold of the first 3 Pokémon games. The first card. Media Factory released Japan's first Pokémon-based set cards on October 20th, 1996. They're not the first Pokémon cards ever made, but they are the first ones made for the game. Some of the first cards, like 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐸, 𝐿, and Blastoise, were also made by Ken Sugimori. Mitsuhiro Arita is one of the most well-known Pokemon illustrators. He is known for drawing Pokemon like Charizard, Venusaur, and Pikachu for the Pokemon-based set. Arita has drawn on more than 500 Pokemon cards and keeps all 537 in a binder. Mitsuhiro Arita's signed cards have become very popular in recent years. Arita is the easiest Pokemon illustrator to reach. Arita has a lot of fans because he does live art demonstrations all over the world and posts his drawing on Instagram. Mr. Arita likes his fans, so he took the time to answer questions, draw pictures, and take pictures with more than 100 of them. The last two base set artists are Keiji Kanebuchi and Tomoaki Imakuni. Kanebuchi is a 3D artist who made the energy cards and many trainer cards in the base set. Imakuni drew Porygon. He was a musician by trade. He also made music for movies and TV shows about Pokemon. The TV show. Since 2013, people in the West have known Pokemon as Pokemon the series. It is an anime TV show based on the Pokemon video game series. It was first shown in 1997 on Tokyo TV. More than 1,000 episodes of the anime have been made and aired. There are 7 series in Japan, and there are 22 seasons outside of Japan. It is one of the anime shows that have been going on the longest. As 𝐥𝐤𝐤𝐸, a young man training to become a Pokemon master, and his friends embark on an adventure to collect all 7 legendary Pokemon. The anime is also the basis for a group of children's books called Pokemon Junior. In 2020, Pokemon Twilight Wings, an anime series with 8 episodes, was shown on YouTube. Studio Colorido did the animation for the series. As of July 2021, Joe Henderson was attached to write and executive produce a live-action Pokemon series for Netflix. In 2021, Pokemon Evolutions, an 8-part anime series celebrating Pokemon's 25th anniversary, aired on YouTube. Pokemon Go. Similar to the goals of Pokemon battles in the video game series, the Pokemon trading card game (TCG) objective is to defeat your opponent's Pokemon. Pokemon Go, which came out in 2016, is another example of how the series has set cultural trends worldwide. Many people play mobile games, and Pokemon Go is amongst the most played. Its clever use of augmented reality technology has made many people who live inside go outside and look for rare Pokemon. Even though you can download the game for free, you can make many in-app purchases to make Pokemon hunting more accessible, but they will cost you. Pokemon Card Trading Game. Players try to beat their opponents by knocking out their Pokemon cards. Each card has its strengths and weaknesses. Wizards of the Coast put out the game in 1999 in North America. With the release of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire for the Game Boy Advance, the Pokemon Company took the card game back from Wizards of the Coast and started making the cards themselves. The Pokemon E trading card game was added with the Expedition expansion. The cards could be read on the Nintendo e-reader. With the release of Fire Red and Leaf Green, Nintendo stopped making cards that could be used with e-readers. In 1998, Nintendo released a version of the trading card game for the Game Boy Color in Japan. In 2000, the US and Europe got the Pokemon trading card game. The game had digital versions of cards from the original set and the first 2 expansions. It also had some cards that could only be found in the game. In 2001, a sequel came out in Japan. Satoshi Tajiri is the CEO of Game Freak right now. He's been in charge of the Pokemon world since it started. After Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, Tajiri stopped being the director and became an executive producer. He is also well known as the executive producer of the live-action adaptation of Detective Pikachu. The idea for the Pokemon world came from wanting to catch and care for bugs. Although you can't throw a Pokeball at your neighbor's cat, you can catch a Meowth on your phone. Doesn't that mean the same thing? Remember to subscribe to our channel for more. Also, set up your bell icon because we'll be back sooner than you think with another fantastic story. Take care until then.